Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhagawan, after explaining the Sara, the main essence of the three paths, karma, bhakti, Ashtanga Yoga, now picks up the theme of Jnana Yoga. He has already explained that the purpose of all the four paths is abidance in the self, which is the infinite truth. So they all serially lead us to the same goal of completeness, fulfillment, freedom of infinitude. Having explained the three paths, now Bhagavan takes up his favorite theme. When I say favorite theme, all paths, as we pointed out, different seekers with different temperaments at different stages of their life gravitate towards one of these lanes of spiritual growth and development. Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi was an expert in the path of knowledge. Again, according to each one's temperament and again stage of their development, we naturally gravitate towards predominantly a certain path. We have also seen that how the similar elements are there in each of these paths also. One is the preparation and final is the contemplation. Understanding this, there is a uniqueness and speciality in each of the path and conducive to a certain type of seeker, or easy for a certain type of seeker according to that person's identification with his or her various equipments. So we start the journey from where we are. But each path has its uniqueness, and the uniqueness of the path of knowledge is its directness. And Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi, when anybody approached him, would make them inquire, because the path of knowledge is the path of self-inquiry. It's a path where you don't take anything for granted. It's a path where we inquire straight into the cause, straight into the truth. And therefore it has got its directness. Anyone who approached Ramana Maharshi, he would make them inquire. Whether they came with a problem or whether they came to declare their achievements, he made them inquire, who has the problem? Who is the person who has achieved? Who is happy or who is miserable? Get to the root. And in this path, the beauty is that we do not always have to find a solution to the problem. This is called as different thinking. This path has got its uniqueness. We are all looking for a solution to the problem. And one problem ends, there is another problem that arises. Because the cause of the problem, if it is not removed, the problem keeps coming back, or at the same time, it comes in different forms. The path of knowledge is the path of inquiry, where you go straight to look into the cause of the problem. And wonderful thing is that many of the causes of our problem is our own ignorance and our own imaginations. And something that we imagine and we try to find a solution for that imaginary problem, you might find a temporary solution that seemed to satisfy you at that moment, but the cause remaining there, the problem rises again. The path of knowledge has its uniqueness, and this is the uniqueness that makes it the direct path. Also, all the paths are giving us the purity, the preparedness of single-pointedness to have a contemplative mind by which we gain the knowledge of the reality. Here, we don't take for granted that there is a problem. We inquire if there is a problem. Take, for example, the famous example that is given in Vedanta is of the snake and the rope. Suppose you saw a snake. Immediately you see a huge poisonous snake very close to you, or maybe very close to your house. Immediately you start thinking about a solution. You might run to find a long stick to drive the snake away, and you may not even find a stick, and you may get all messed up in your mind with fear, anxiety, and trying to find a solution of how to get rid of that snake because you don't have a long stick. Plus, you look for so many different solutions. Should I harm the snake or kill the snake or drive away the snake, or should I get a stick with fire and frighten it away? All these things come to the mind to agitate the mind. But the path of knowledge is first look straight at what you see as a problem and see what it is. Very often we get frightened by our own conceived notions. When you inquire there and you find that snake that you saw has not moved, and you observe carefully, it is not moving, you might think it is a dead snake. You try to make noise and you find that it does not move. You think it is a dead snake. It is no longer a problem. But if you inquire further and find that there is no snake only, there is only a rope lying there. In fact, we don't require any solution even to carefully throw away a dead snake, which might probably be alive suddenly or start moving. You find that there is only an innocent rope and there is no problem. In fact, the solution we don't have to find. In fact, the problem is dissolved. This is the path of inquiry, that find out what is the problem or what is it that is giving us the problem, and inquire what it essentially is. And very often you will find out that it was just an imaginary illusion. And an illusion requires a substratum. It requires a base on which we project something else, just like we project a snake on a rope or a ghost on a post. This kind of superimposition that takes place in our mind, it can be dissolved only through right inquiry and the knowledge of its substratum, its truth, its essence. Once we have understood this about what is this path of knowledge or Jnana Yoga, we'll now understand how Ramana Maharshi takes us through this inquiry, and immediately we can see our problems not solved but dissolved. At this moment, when we do all our sadhanas, whether karma yoga or puja, japa, or practice pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, in all of that, we know we are struggling with our mind. And we begin to recognize that the main problem is to steady and calm this mind. We have been given so many methods, techniques by the different paths. They are no doubt effective, but we have seen that this mind still can distract us. Through direct experience, we can see that it can distract us. It can still create agitations. It can suddenly become miserable. Sometimes it's enthusiastic to do the sadhana, the practices. Other times it is absolutely repulsive. We are constantly struggling with this mind. But Ramana Maharshi says, why not inquire what is this mind? And once we know what is the mind, just as suppose we found that snake to be relatively real, means it is real for us, there's a snake there, then we find a solution. But most often there may not even be a snake. It could just be a crack on the ground or a rope. And we don't have to struggle for any solution. In all the paths, we take for granted that there is a problematic mind. And this problematic mind, we have to tame, we have to purify, we have to make it single-pointed. All this struggle with this mind, this battle with the mind, and we recognize that our mightiest enemy is this mind only. But when you inquire, what is this mind? Wonder of wonders, what we discover and what we find. And Bhagawan says now, in the theme that starts of Jnana Yoga, this method of inquiry. Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjavat. Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjavat. Naiva manasam marga arjavat. Manasam tu kim? What is this mind? Margane krite, in this path, when you inquire, what is this mind? And here Ramana Maharshi says that just as when you inquire in the example of the snake and find that there is no snake itself, how much life is simplified then to find a solution to remove this illusory snake, or after all the beating of the snake, you find out it is a rope. And therefore he says that in this path of inquiry, you inquire into what is the mind itself. And once you have understood the mind, then you can find solutions. But the wonder is that naiva manasam, you find there is no mind only. And therefore, marga arjavat. In this path, there is this easiness, this directness. There is no struggle anymore. He calls it as the direct path. So the path of knowledge, of inquiry, is the direct path. Because you find that there is no problem only. But we love problems, we don't like to say that there is no problem. Therefore, inquire. Inquire that all our problems are in the mind. What is this mind? Where we experience all our problems, or that seems to be the cause of our problem. And as a seeker trying to master your mind without understanding the mind, you take for granted the problematic mind and are trying to find solutions to quieten it, to make it single-pointed. But inquire. What is this mind? And wonder of wonders, when you inquire what is this mind, naiva manasam, you find that the mind itself fizzles off, disappears. It no longer has its real existence, which constantly seems to horrify us or fascinate us. So, naiva manasam marga arjavat. Now, how do we inquire as to what is this mind? The great rishis have inquired, and Bhagavan takes us through this inquiry. Now, just as the various practices that were pointed out to us in the path of action, in the path of devotion, in the path of Ashtanga Yoga, it is important in practicing it. The path of inquiry is to be done here and now. Not that we listen now, we nod our head, we believe in something, and then one day we will inquire. In fact, the result of knowledge is here and now, and therefore it is direct. So inquire. First and foremost is, we work with this mind. We have problems and sorrows, excitements and attachments in this mind. What is this mind? What is this mind made up of? Let us inquire and see if there is a mind, then how to tame this mind? But if there is no mind only, then there's nothing to worry, there's nothing to struggle about. Bhagavan takes us through this inquiry. Vrittayastvaham vrittimashrita vrittayo mano vidyaham manah vrittayastvaham vrittimashrita vrittayo mano vidyaham manah vrittayo mano vidyaham manah. Bhagavan makes us understand and makes us inquire. Mind, vrittaya manaha. Mind is made up of thoughts. But it is not a thought or just a pool of thoughts. Just like a lake is a pool of thought. But a river which is constantly moving is not just a pool of thoughts. It is a continuous flow of thoughts. It is not a thought. Just as there is not the same drop of water in the same place in the river, it is a constant flow of water, drops of water that are flowing, moving. In the same way, mind is a continuous flow of thoughts. Again, this mind is full of so many thoughts. But when we inquire, the so many thoughts, Bhagavan says, vrittaya aham vrittim ashritaha. That all the various thoughts are dependent and have their existence on one thought, and that is the I thought. One common thought, which is the I thought. And therefore, know that this I thought is the mind. Viddhi aham manaha. Know that this I thought is the mind. We have got so many thoughts by which we have our experiences or we express ourselves. If you see the anatomy of any experience, there is these thoughts. I am seeing this camera. If I turn my vision, I am seeing the plants. If I look down, I am seeing this book. The objects and their thoughts are different and constantly changing. But in all of them, there is a common thought: I am seeing. I am doing this work. I like something. I dislike something. I am happy. I am sad. I am rich. I am poor. I am this body. I am this mind. You notice the I thought is constantly there in every experience, in every action, in every identification. Therefore, notice that the thoughts of objects, situation changes, but they are all dependent upon this I thought. This is said in Vedantic literature: aham vritti, I thought, and all objects are experienced as this, and therefore it is idam vritti. Idam vritti is constantly changing. But what is constantly there in every experience is this aham vritti, commonly there in all thoughts, all experiences. Again, this idam vritti depends upon aham vritti. Just as, take the example of sleep. When this aham vritti is not there, this I thought, I am this, I am that, is not there, I thought is not there, there is no experience of the world also. Now, if you want to contemplate, when you wake up in the morning, cultivate this habit of watching your thought process, even before you open your eyes or get up from bed. First of all, the thought comes, I am. I am awake. Then the thought comes, I am in bed. I have to quickly rush to the bathroom before anybody else goes to the bathroom, if you're sharing a bathroom. Then the thought comes in, you are a mother, you are a father, and then comes in all the thoughts of children and the duties that you have to perform. And suddenly, for those who are businessmen or professions or businesswomen who start thinking, I am a doctor, I am an engineer, And then the entire world of idam, 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 the chain of thoughts begin. But all of them are dependent because none of them can be without this aham vritti, this I thought. And thus, the mind is this I thought. Now we do not have to inquire into the many thoughts. This I thought also seems to rise and set from somewhere, appear and disappear. So where does this I thought rise from? We have to inquire only into this I thought. See how the inquiry becomes simple. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.